Grog.
Hey everyone, it's the Sideshow Podcast with me, Peter Fickling, Kerry Warbis and Matthew Weir. So Kerry, you and I have a very sort of Jim and Chelsea relationship when it comes to bringing up children. I look to you for advice. This has happened on the pod. It's happened off air as well. And I thought you'd be incredibly proud of me this morning. Instead of a steak bake, my son asked me for a sausage roll, looked me straight in the eye and said, "Can I have a sausage roll, Daddy, for breakfast?"
That is tremendous parenting.
Thank you.
Did you provide the sausage roll?
I went to the shops and bought him one.
Oh, nice one. You can't beat a sausage roll, can you?
Organic, free-range sausage roll, Kerry, of course.
Oh, they're not as good as really awful ones, though, are they? From Greg's or wherever.
You know, he's a burgeoning growing boy, only the best for him. But yes, I hope you've already said it. You're feeling a sort of swelling pride for me. So hopefully, it seems like Jim and Chelsea are having a sort of the same closeness that we enjoy.
I did enjoy Jim watching reality TV.
Yeah.
That was fun, wasn't it? On the TV that Chelsea was baffled by the size of and thought he should get rid of more books and have a massive screen hung on the wall instead. Make a cinema room. Yeah, he's such a darling, isn't he?
Yeah. And are you on the fence with Jim, Matthew?
No, I'm firmly off the fence and rolling around in the luscious green grass. Did you not think it was a little unrealistic that a teenager was so obsessed with having a TV to watch things on? In my experience, they just watch things on their phones all day.
Yeah, I mean, they get things like that wrong, don't they, quite often?
Also, the use of tunes to talk about music, I thought was a little bit bizarre as well.
Yeah, there was something else that she said that was silly too. And this whole reality thing that they were watching sounded highly convoluted.
You two are like a different species to me. All this stuff washes over me. I just they tell me that Chelsea likes to watch a big TV. I'm just like, okay, all right. I know, and as I've said before, I admire it, but it's quite sort of like, we're very different creatures, I think, when it comes to listening to the Archers.
But I think there was an element of reality to it because she had her music on, didn't she? And the TV on without sound. So she had something there to look at while she was doing her college work. And I tend to do that. If I'm working on something, I have to have some sort of sound going on in the background.
There's the music you work to and there's the music you listen to for enjoyment. So like when I'm working, I need sort of like thumping, kind of like pounding sort of music. No, I can already hear Matthew's filthy brain whirring into action with some kind of smutty joke.
I was thinking Enya.
But, it's like you don't listen to quality music when you're working, do you? You need something that only just takes up enough of your brain to keep you from being distracted.
No, it has to be quality, but a different vibe, I suppose.
Well, so come on then, Gary. You've got an Excel spreadsheet to fill. Who's going on?
Oh God, yeah. I used to play loads of things like Rye. Have you heard of Rye? RHYE.
What name's like the Sussex town?
No, they don't have a H.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Loads of different stuff. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. Just the quality thing has to be there.
So we agreed that in spirit they got it right with Chelsea, but they're off as usual. They need to get this, and they need to get a teenage consultant in. But it was incredibly heartwarming to hear Jim. And I've been moaning like crazy for months and months and months. And I think we've even had a review that's called out my negativity. I can't remember exactly, but this is the week. Just so everyone knows, this is the week that I want. Like, Kate shrilly shouting at people, whether enthusiastically or otherwise. Jim just oozing avuncular warmth and kind of love. Jazza being kind of buffoonishly charming. Tracy clucking around the place, being a fantastic mother and friend. Even the Valentine's scene was tolerable. Set within all the lovely Jim and rewilding action.
Gosh, that's lots and lots of positivity. I get what you mean. It was more enjoyable. There weren't sort of sillily hyped dramas, were there? Which were totally unrealistic. It just kind of nicely meandered along.
I guess the flat line in all of it was the lawyer meeting, wasn't it? With Roisin Drinkwater and Alice.
As opposed to drink vodka. I mean, have they done that on purpose, to be honest?
That's very good. I didn't even think of that. This is no surprise, but okay, thank you for that.
I wouldn't really expect Roisin to set a courtroom
No.
alight, would you? She was quite robotic.
We have a very strict it's not really policy, is it? But we tend to try and concentrate on the plot and what's going on. We don't tend to kind of mither too much about the quality of acting. But I found it really difficult to listen to the whole lawyer scene.
There were lots of people on Twitter saying the same. They were kind of going, "Ooh, she's from the Amy School of Acting, isn't she?" And perhaps Adam. You know, it was all very kind of quite flat, and then overemphasizing odd bits, and quite aggressive for an initial meeting.
And also sort of I couldn't decide whether it was the microphone. They didn't sound like they were recorded in the same room as well. Like there was a kind of depth and warmth to the way that Alice was recorded, and then and I was like, maybe this actress has been brought in and been forced to do it over the Zoom, and the actress who plays Alice is sort of in the Birmingham studio, and I was trying to make excuses for why it sounded so discordant, but it just was.
Yeah, I think as well, people were pointing out that she talked about custody, which is no longer a current term, which was a bit, well, it's quite interesting on Twitter. You know, like the experts on Twitter come out, don't
Yeah.
they?
The whole thing was a bit of an infomercial for the process, wasn't it? I think, really, more than anything. But I mean, if all that Roisin offered was meditation, she could have just gone to Kate, couldn't she?
Very good, Matthew. Alice was pretty much saying, Chris is a better parent. He can be the primary carer. That's fine by me. It's all my fault because of my addiction. And she did say she hasn't had a drink for 6 months and 3 days. I was like, blimey, it's been 6 months.
Lightweight. Real, 2 years, that's where it starts to count, Kerry. Not drinking, yeah.
Yeah, well done.
How about 5 days?
Oh, is that you, Matthew?
It is, just because I've had a lot of work to do.
Does Mari have to tie you into the bed so you can sleep at night instead of like, no, just a shot, just a shot. Come, Matthew, go to bed, my love.
No, because I bought a selection of pucker nighttime teas when I was over in the UK at Christmas, and they just seemed to send me off at night, and I'm gone. Unlike the nighttime tea that I brought here, which gave me insomnia, which I think was just some sick bastard in the factory.
I thought you were going to say you bought a load of pucker pies.
I wish. Can't bring pies back anymore.
Yeah, that's where we are as a country. That I saw someone's giving travelling tips, and it's buy vegan sandwiches if you're going to travel. Anyway.
However, they didn't pick up on my. I brought a chicken tikka wrap back through last time I came back from England, and they didn't notice that in Bristol because I think with everything else they have to deal with, they just couldn't be arsed with checking bags anymore.
You're such a maverick, you're confessing on air that you've smuggled chicken tikka across the international boundaries.
It's like Midnight Express all over again, isn't it? We're sort of sweating with your shades on.
Years from now, Scorsese is going to make a movie of me. I'm walking through Bristol security with Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones playing.
Speaking of savoury pastries, there was a steak bake overkill, wasn't there?
Well, I mean, I think Matthew and I should just keep quiet for a while you give us the law, Kerry. What is the politics of steak bakes in the house or any pastry meat snack?
Oh, you shouldn't ever just help yourself to stuff without saying, is this anyone's? Is it all right if I have it? And that was the whole lesson, wasn't it? That she sort of went, oh, what I should really be doing is thinking about things before I do them, isn't it?
Revolutionary concept.
Yes, thank you, Jim, for teaching her that. I don't know how long that's going to last, by the way.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if she misuses literally from now on, because he set her straight on that. But, shout out to Russ. She passed her English resit.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Where is Russ? It's funny that Russ hasn't been on it. Lee hasn't been on it. And
are you saying we've killed their career?
Yeah. They've not reappeared, have they?
Any other Archers actors who don't have the guts to quit, just come and talk to us.
You'll never be on it again.
Exactly.
My speaking of steak bakes, my mum messaged me yesterday to tell me she's normally, celebrity death informant. She normally tells me when someone has died. But yesterday she got in touch to tell me Greggs have launched a fashion range.
Oh, have they? Is it hats?
I don't know. I haven't dared look. I just wrote back very quickly that I don't want anything, just in case she was nipping out to the
Because
shops.
there were those like, was it Lidl or Aldi trainers?
Got them.
Did you? My friend James got some of those trainers too.
I've got a stunning pair of little flip flops, which
What?
I haven't even worn, and I've got 2 pairs of little sliders.
Have you actually got the trainers?
I have got the trainers, yeah,
Have you worn them outside?
at Christmas. Not in England, last Christmas when I was here, so nobody I knew would see me. I've toyed with wearing them into
Mm.
school, but I just think it would be like, imagine getting picked on by kids and you're the
Yeah.
teacher.
Do you leave them in the middle of the kitchen floor?
No, that's unacceptable,
Mm.
and I'm totally on board with Jim on that. Anyone that leaves shoes, socks, etc., anything that's
Mm.
like from the lower half of the body lying around the house is not that I don't live with people that do that, but it's just completely
The
unacceptable.
lower half of the body.
So basically, there has to be intense control of everything below the waist, and yet naked from above the waist. That's the weir way.
Yeah, and you can throw your tops wherever you like.
Yeah, they can go anywhere.
He was quite hardcore, wasn't he, Jim, on that? I loved how he was explicitly laying down the slots that you can use the bathroom, the fact that you have to tidy away the sofa bed by 7:30. You can't leave any items or they'll end up by the duck pond.
Do you see Alistair as a 15-minute bathroom man?
15 or 50?
Let's work it out. Brushing his teeth 2 minutes.
In the
Number
shower?
Oh, no, I'm thinking about the whole time in the bathroom.
Okay.
But it just lying in the fetal position, crying in the shower. That's at least 10 minutes, isn't it? Before he even gets to washing.
Racking up ket because you know you've got to work with Jacob all day.
Racing bars of soap down the bathtub, betting on which one will win. Come on, Pink, come on.
You can do everything in 15 minutes, can't you? I've got loads of hair and I can do that. On my head, by the way.
I like the bit where Jim really was hardline, wasn't she? So she was like, so if you're going to put my PJs on the green, and the end of the scene was him just going, yes.
Long-term listeners to the podcast and bikes, and further than that to me and Kerry, will know that I've referenced many times that Kerry is as honest as the day is long, very straight shooting. Like there's not much sugar to help the medicine go down, is there, Kerry? When you have a point to make.
No.
And I think actually, with Jim, it's like, yes, you might go to his house and for the first 10 minutes, you might be like, whoa there, buddy, come on, calm down, cool your jets. But actually, it's front loading the stress, isn't it? It's saying, let's get this all out of the way, get all the unpleasantness out of the way, and we can have a lovely few days. We know where the dividing lines are, we know where the lines to cross are, and we'll get on fine. And it worked very well. I don't have the courage to behave like that. I'm a cowardly custard.
No, I just think, knowing where you are with people is so much better in the long term and short term. Just woolliness and vagueness. I mean, good grief. Just don't get it. What I did think about Jim, which was a bit sad and touching, and I don't know whether they're going to take it anywhere else, is that he referred to wondering whether he would ever find love, or he actually just said, oh, that's all in the past, it's never going to happen. But they had mentioned Carol Tregoran at the Valentine's, that he was speaking to her.
I'm Jim Lloyd. I'm Hyacinth Gill. How nice to meet you, Hyacinth.
Yeah, do you think they're going to expand that? Do you think Jim and Carol might be a thing, or why are they mentioning that he's...
Because 100% he's going to be knocking boots with someone. Jazz is going to end up leaving house because he can't stand the sound of the foundations rattling anymore.
My mum's husband's going to be very happy that Carol Tregoran got a mention, because when I was home at Christmas, he asked me if she was still in it, and then proceeded to ask me if a bunch of characters from the 50s were in it, and I had to say no. I'm surprised. There was I don't know if it's Socrates, Aristotle. I thought Jim might have said that. There was a quote from one of those two that's when they finally lost their libido, they said it was like being released from the service of a cruel master. I thought Jim might feel like that.
What's cruel about it?
I think every man feels that to some extent, don't they? It's kind of like this, this sort of horrible imp that's kind of just demanding far too much of your attention. And it's, when you can sort of master it, it's quite a good feeling. It's like, oh yeah, thank God I'm not everything I think about is dictated by that anymore.
I wonder if that's more a male thing than a female thing.
And probably both. I mean, I do. So, I mean, obviously, like this, if you draw the sort of like the Venn diagram of womanhood and manhood, the overlap is sort of like, almost total, right? The differences are fairly fringe. I mean, this, sexism requires on kind of exaggerating those differences, doesn't it? But like, so, it's like when, I would say my peak sexism for me was when I was a teenager and I thought that all women and girls were kind of these untouchable little fairies for whom sex was an abomination, and didn't realize you were all the wanton sluts that you are. Gagging for it, Kerry. But you know what I mean. Like it's sexist to kind of like turn women into princesses and angels. So it's a very long thing. I don't think that the difference is that huge. I think the female libido is just as
it is,
strong.
but is it all bullshit then that men think about sex every sort of 3 seconds or whatever that stat is?
That seems like crap to me. What do you think, Matthew? We've got a sample size of 2. I don't think about sex. I don't think I've ever thought about sex sort of, every 10 minutes.
He can't hear us because he's thinking about sex too much.
Did you see those clouds above Edinburgh that look like boobs that were caused by Steam Dudley? Steam Dudley? Storm Dudley.
Steam Dudley sounds like a porn name, doesn't it? Steamy Dudley.
Before people who love the classics get in touch, it was Sophocles that said he felt as if he had escaped from a frantic and savage master. So I misremembered it.
But sex and love are different. And was Sophocles talking about sex or love or the?
He was asked, "How do you feel about love? Are you still capable of it?" So it depends what you mean. I think when they ask, "Are you capable of it?" Maybe he was talking about the emotion. I don't know.
Okay, because Jim seems, I don't know, there was a sadness when he was saying that, as if he hasn't given up. I hope he hasn't.
I don't think so. I think he might just want a bit of companionship, don't you? And it all got kicked off with the Valentine's night. I thought Amy wasn't really in a strong position to be slagging off how boring and how weird other people were.
Definitely.
I mean, at some point she said she wanted, it was when Alice said, "You just have to be sociable at high speed." I was like, well, that's you, Amy. And then she said later, she wanted her ears to drop off. And I was like, the feeling's long been mutual, mate.
Oh, she's so awful, isn't she? What about the bloody questions that they were asked on the prompt cards? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? Oh, that's nice, isn't it? What makes you sad? That's like an opening line on a social dating thingamabob. And how many uses are there for a piece of spaghetti?
Yeah, get Jade back.
Shove it up your nose.
That reminds me of the GQ or Esquire did a test years and years ago, and it was basically the idea was an IQ test is a very inexact way of measuring intelligence. It measures one very specific kind of intelligence, and so they tried to do a creativity test, and one of them was uses for a paperclip. And how you had to come up with as many uses for a paperclip as you could in 1 minute. And Stephen Fry got something ridiculous like 72. Because I remember one was poking out a sheep's eye, like he just obviously goes off on one. But so I immediately thought of that. Whether it's interesting or not, I don't know.
Well, you'd have 2 categories, wouldn't you? For a start, one would be cooked and the other would be uncooked for the spaghetti. Actually, I've just remembered, I tweeted a couple of weeks ago that I used a spaghetti, and actually that's wrong. It should be a spaghetto for a stick of spaghetti. I used.
What happened to this podcast?
Listen to what I did,
Socrates, and then you're suddenly kind of like correcting your Italian grammar. Sorry. Anyway, Kerry.
Yeah. I was in the kitchen and I was measuring. I wanted to measure a space where a bread bin would go, and I didn't have a tape measure, so I used a spaghetti to measure the height and width of the space. And a spaghetti.
Show up at B&Q using that as a unit of measurement and see how far you get.
A spaghetto is 26 centimetres.
Very good.
Just so you know. Yeah.
So our Instagram
sorry
is...
about that. I liked it when they said at the beginning, I think it was Rex and Alice, when they first walked in, were like, I can't believe how many people have bought tickets. And obviously we were all going, "Yes, nor can we."
Yeah. Listen how many there's the budget to actually put on Mike. Just you three. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was no actual evidence. I just reckon that they just took very strong LSD and walked into the Bull, and none of that was
There
actually
were
happening.
only them in there.
Oh my god, if that's Amy, if
Yeah.
that's Amy on LSD, there really is no hope for her. I mean,
Mhm.
I think the thing is it's this. Sorry, I'm a much trodden path again. It's the good people who are boring. It's like being good's not entertaining. And Kate screeching and squawking excitedly about kind of coppicing was amazing, but Amy talking sincerely and affectionately about being a good friend was just dull as dishwater.
Yeah, horrible. I think, it was dramatic irony was piled high, wasn't it? With Alice being concerned about Amy finding a partner and asking, "How was Chris when you saw him last?" And at one point, I think Amy quickly changed the subject, didn't she, from telling her how Chris was and sort of went, "Oh, looking forward to this," or whatever. Look, a shiny thing over there." Yeah, I think we're meant to all be heavily still suspecting that Amy's got the hots for Chris. And when Rex a lot of Twitter were thinking, "Oh, Rex and Amy are copping off." They were paired up on the Valentine's night. But it wasn't them two. For a start, Rex doesn't fancy her, but hooray. But I think what Rex did was make Amy realise what she's looking for in a person, which is just stay at home watching telly by the sounds of it, and someone who gets you and you don't have to try too hard. And she was just thinking Chris, 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 wasn't she,
Mm.
at that point?
Do you think they've written Amy in such a way that she can develop naturally into being the kind of just a second Alice? Yes, the timing's not so good, but he's single because of you, and I want to get. Do you think because it's gonna when it kicks off, they're gonna have
Mm,
to that character's gonna have to change gear quite quickly, because it's not plausible that she would just be kind of like oh okay, I'm so sorry, but I'm gonna keep on dating him. Like
mm.
in order to keep on dating him, if she does, she'll have to kind of like believe her own narrative that it's completely fine.
And if it all pans out with the house that Brian's waving around for Chris, Amy will be next door to Alice with Chris and quite loaded, probably.
I'm thinking Rex and Alice. Rex and Alice. That's my prediction.
I was thinking Rex and Kirsty, but she's
No, but
buggered
she's
off
she's
now.
buggering off now, isn't she? Or is she? But yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it was actually that's one thing. It was quite a crowded week, wasn't it? There was a lot of stuff going on. I was amused, Matthew, when Kerry sent through the notes this morning to suggest topics for the show, and there was the whole divorce thing was seen through Kerry's gimlet eyes. Brian being amazing and kind and lovely, and it took me a couple of seconds to work out. Oh, that's how Kerry sees.
Yeah, I mean, that was the other thing that we were hearing when you had on Sunday, well, way back on Sunday, wasn't it? Jim and Tracy had that scene where they were looking at the Red Wings and she was discussing or explaining why Jazza had ended up
Mm.
so broke. And then that was zooming in between Brian and Neil, where Brian was clearly trying to get the measure of how things were with
Mm.
Chris. And then, yeah, the offering of the cottage, I was utterly cynical. I felt that was a very utterly cynical
Mm.
move by Brian.
Yeah, and also I just want to qualify that what I did say as the topic was Brian's buttering up campaign. So I know he's not
Yeah.
daft.
Your last tango in Paris is what you were thinking there, Kerry. You filthy beggar. Unbelievable. Leave Brian alone.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about this. It is in the best interest of all for everything to be as amicable as possible. Just full stop, isn't it? It's definitely in Brian's interest and Home Farms for the finances to be not as I don't know as smoothed out as they can be to Home Farms' advantage. I'm envisaging Chris going nuts and trying to take all he can. Really.
Does that seem plausible? I mean, they haven't written Chris that way. I mean, isn't it Shouldn't it just be they sit down and they go, this is what you're entitled to, but this is actually going to ruin the farm. Okay, how can we do this in a way that, does it over a period of time, acknowledges your rights, but also doesn't, because they could make the point that it's actually going to be better for Martha if the farm stays in one piece and does well, to Brian's point. So look, we want to give you the money, we want to give you what's yours, but let's do it in a way that, protects your and my family. Easy.
I reckon that's what they might do. They might skip over Chris and Alice and put Martha on the deed.
Oh, good thinking. And which parent wouldn't be down for that? A little bit of money now, just to help you get along. Acknowledge the expense that's been caused in the short term, but actually say, let's just put all our eggs in that very privileged little basket.
But Brian was saying, wasn't he, that he doesn't really want the whole estate to be properly valued because the valuation will cost money, for one thing, and then Chris is more likely to get more money if the true valuation of it is explored and described.
Yeah, what else is buried underneath that land?
So he just wants Chris to just agree to something far less, doesn't he?
Kerry, how are you going to feel when you find out that Brian's got sort of caskets full of Krugerrand and Nazi gold buried on his property?
Very sensible investment.
From a purely financial point of view, you're probably right.
Which cottage do we see Chris settling in, the Rookery or the Hobbit? I think he's much more of a Hobbit person.
I loved it when Brian went, I have nothing to do with the choice of that name. Yeah, what a stupid name for a house. Are they different, these houses, in any way?
They're both kind of, well, what was one of the things that he said about
child friendly?
It was they were child friendly. Oh, Kerry, we got to hear for the first time that the treacherous stairs are actually steps and they are exterior.
I know, and they wouldn't pass current building regs.
They were referenced twice, weren't they?
I hate to be the one to break it to you two, but eventually these stairs are going to fall out of the show. We're not going to hear from them anymore, so you two are going to have to.
Well, we've now got a stairs versus steps debate, so we've got that. That'll roll on for another year. Yeah.
I still think something's going to happen with them. Definitely. It's just to whom.
What you think it's that they've been telegraphed this relentlessly that there has to be some plot line attached to them.
Yeah.
By the way, does this just lazily mean that Tom and Natasha are now just going to go back to the flat after all of the shite that was brought up by Hazel?
It'd be a stupid place for them to go, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but Tom really, I mean, I know him and Chris made their peace, but he did go round there and pretty much say, like, well, we should have had first refusal, and Chris was like, well, yeah, that's
I think that was it was just a pig-headed temper thing without being thought through properly, because he didn't like having something taken away from him, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, how much head wrecking do you think is going on up at Bridge Farm now with Tony, Pat, Natasha and Tom? We hadn't heard from them for a few weeks, so it's so fraught up there now. I mean, Tony went round to Peggy's just to chill out, and Hilda savaged him.
And Peggy thought he made far too much a fuss of it.
Yeah, she blamed him, didn't she? And that's classic Peggy, like, gets absolutely mauled by a cat and was just like, he's never understood cats.
Such a fucking idiot. I think Brian did say that the flat was far too pokey for Chris and Martha, so surely it's far more pokey for 2 adults and 2 babies.
Yes, we're bringing logic into the Archers, aren't we?
We try to sometimes, don't we?
Maybe they should measure it in spaghetti or spaghetto.
Yes, how big is that accommodation?
Gary, you could channel your inner Tony, make yourself a little model village out of spaghetto or spaghetti, the whole of Ambridge.
Yeah.
One thing I did discover trawling Instagram this week is there are people making dioramas of Archers' houses, including the bull.
Really?
One of the bull. Yeah. I'll pull it up.
Well, actually, the
Twitter.
bull could be quite fun. You've got it's crowded out front. You've got Linda chained out there. You've got a Alice.
The Scarecrow Alice.
Exactly, Scarecrow Alice. You've got a dead peacock lying at the back. You've got the corpse of you've got various hit and runs in the lane round the back.
Was the peacock called Eccles?
Yes,
because there was an Eccles cake, wasn't there? Has Jim been He froze the peacock and keeps making cakes out of it.
Yes, I know. I mean, he was rolled pretty flat as well, wasn't he, Eccles? So I think you could just whack him between two pieces of pastry.
Peacocks, they're not protected fowl, are they? It's just swans. You're allowed to eat a peacock, aren't you?
The names of the extra function rooms at the Bull, did you catch them?
Oh, I didn't make a note of them. I can remember them being said. What were they?
The Ploughman's, and I'm fairly sure the other one was called the Flood Bar, which was like, that's a bit
on the nose.
Yeah, given that the whole village flooded about 5 or 6 years ago. What is it there to remember other than the flood? By the way, how are you guys getting battered by Eunice yet?
Yeah, Eunice is. I just said you probably can't hear it on the mic, but yeah, the next door neighbour's tree is smashing into my office.
It's pretty mild here. I haven't noticed. The kids have both gone off to work. I hope I see them again later.
Okay. Are schools closed where you are,
I don't
Kerry?
pay any attention to schools anymore because my kids are too old. I don't care about anything that just involves other people.
There you go. There you heard it, everybody. I guess Live Aid was just wasted on you, wasn't it? Why are they doing this big concert?
I was in a tent in the Yorkshire Dales when that happened. I didn't even watch it. So,
what? Sorry, Kerry. This is maybe I can't imagine you being into camping.
Yeah, no, I can't either. Yeah.
Was this an attempt to was this a failed relationship?
It wasn't a failed relationship. I was with him for 7 years.
Okay, so the relationship was intense.
It was. That was the only intent moment in the relationship, to be honest. We never did it again.
The camping.
I prefer yurts where you get an actual double bed and a wood burner and carpets and things like that. I've been to a few of those.
I don't understand the camping snobbery. Like I've got the full kind of, like leave the house with nothing but the stuff on your back and, be gone for weeks kit. And I've got the recreate your living room at home, living room in a field set up as well. And I don't understand any snobbery that exists at either end of the spectrum. It's like, because wouldn't you rather go camping with people and them to be happy and comfortable than try and force some kind of extreme perspective on them? It's like, oh no, it's not real camping unless you're cold and miserable.
You say that, but I reckon Ryan Early has, with Storm Eunice coming, has just basically grabbed a tarpaulin and taken all his loved ones and his animals up to the side of a hill somewhere in Herefordshire.
Oh, because that was right. Because it was like, what was it? 2 days before he was on the pod with us, there was the tweet of him in a howling gale up in the Scottish Highlands
with his little dog pinned in his tent. Yeah, bless him.
Yeah, he did mention his dog didn't talk to him for a couple of days after that, didn't he? Which, my dad's dog does that as well if he has to go. So I presume you saw the notice my dad got down in the flatlands next to the Severn. I mean, I was thinking today, when I walk around that whole area, there is not a single hill there, and it's touch and go really at how the level of the Severn is almost level with the land, so they're going to get a bit of flooding, I'm sure.
And it's spring tides and stuff, isn't it, as well at the moment? Maybe will Ambridge succumb to Eunice as well?
Did you see the report that reactions to storms with women's names are people die because they underestimate women named storms?
Especially names like Eunice.
Yeah. What would be a good? Well, Storm Kerry. There's a Kerry. There's a
no one would go out.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone down Jewson's buying, 4x4 and 6-inch nails.
I mean, that Hurricane Matthew that hit the US, wasn't it, a few years ago? I mean, it killed about 500 people. My mum just sent me a WhatsApp one day going, "Finally, a hurricane named after you."
Has there been a Hurricane Peter?
Very limp, sort of weak
just
hurricane.
In your pants.
It would posture as being this big, kind of manly, meaty, sort of threatening storm, and then with people, be like a handheld fan by the time it reached you.
And they go, "Is that it?"
Yeah, exactly.
Shrug.
Oh, sorry. That'd be the sound of the wind.
What did you think of Hurricane Peggy and her shakedown of Rex, where she just came in a million times saying, "Now look, I'm not here," like Gus Hedges in Drop the Dead Donkey. I'm not here to influence you in any way. You make up your mind, but you better give my granddaughter the
Yes,
job,
but
you
she's
little
got
shit.
yeah, she's got some splendid ideas. I don't think so. Do you know what? Kate is an insanely excellent character. I absolutely loved her this week. She's magnificently horrific. And it struck me this week, especially, that she just totally exaggerates everything, doesn't she? Nothing is just flat or calm or
Mm.
straight. Everything about her ideas are amazing. The confidence she's got with very little to actually show for it is just breathtaking, and she is quite a good persuader and does sound quite convincing. I can imagine if someone who didn't know her interviewed her properly, they might think, "Blimey, she's good." Obviously, Rex and
Yeah.
Peggy do know her, and so do the other people involved in this. But she did sound as if she knew what she was talking about. But I just think the reality of what she would do on a daily basis or weekly basis in that role would be negligible.
Yes, there was that moment where she reeled off a whole bunch of things to Peggy, and Peggy just went, "That just sounds like jargon." She went, "Well, that's the way the world works now." So just loads of empty, vacuous statements
Yeah.
with nothing to back it up. I think I'm down with that. Actually, I do believe that's how the world works.
I mean, the bit that shocked me was when Rex said, "Yeah, she's late," and I was just thinking, yeah, that would be one hell of a thing to get past. You know, you need to turn up. You know, if you're going to an interview that matters to you, you are sitting outside half an hour early,
Yeah.
aren't you?
And she didn't even remember to feed the bloody cat. Did you hear that?
Yeah, that was a series. That was a chain reaction, wasn't it? She didn't feed Hilda. Hilda's in a bad mood. Tony walks in. Hilda savages Tony.
Yeah. And Peggy gets annoyed with Tony.
This is
Yes.
how chaos theory is taught in schools now,
Yes.
Matthew.
Yeah, that's how I'm going to teach it from now on. I'm going to draw this up
But I think
when we
that is
finish up
awful,
here
isn't it? Because
today.
Kate was like, "Oh yeah, yes, it was my turn, wasn't it?" And you think, God, you've left your ancient grandmother to deal with a task you were supposed to do. This does not bode well for someone doing a job, does it?
No, and I think she's late to the interview, but in her mind, she's just walking around what will be her
Mm.
domain. Because I mean, if you wouldn't end the interview if you didn't know the interviewer saying, "So are you going to take me on? I must be one of the front runners." I mean, you might say that, but they're probably writing
Yeah.
psychopath on their notepad at the
Because she
same time.
criticised the toilets, the paths, said that there's nobody there. And Rex was like, we don't actually want crowds of people here, to be honest with you. Wasn't listening to anything he was saying. And then rounded the whole thing off with, where's he ever going to find a better candidate than me? So she's just amazingly arrogant. It's fabulous.
And we'll definitely end up working with him.
Yeah. And then the most obvious thing that hadn't occurred to Rex, despite having a long conversation with her recently, hadn't occurred to Phoebe, even though she lives in the same house as her, was to let's quickly go and find Kirsty, who's walking around counting beech trees as part of a volunteer group, and offer her the job on the spot and just say, we're going to completely cook the books and make sure that you get the job, even though we're going to interview everyone.
Yeah, how it had not occurred to anybody that Kirsty is the prime candidate is very silly, isn't it?
Not when there was the obvious move of her going to Bulgaria on the cards.
Absolutely. She's been offered a 3-year managerial contract at Lokomotiv Plovdiv.
Yeah, Polish towels are really hard to fold.
We have said before, what are they going to do with her? And you know, this is it. They're getting rid of Phoebe. They're getting rid of Kirsty, making some room for, you know, well, God knows what. The Gills. Finally, the Gills.
A couple of people on Twitter were saying maybe this is the trigger point for Roy to say to Kirsty, actually, please don't go. I really love you, which is a bit far-fetched, isn't it? Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Particularly as Lex has offered her the job or set her up with it. Bit awkward. Oh, I'm not coming now, Lexi, because you remember your ex.
I think Rex has feelings for Kirsty, though.
Maybe there's mutual respect due to the nature of the nature, isn't there? I think.
Well, you were saying about how often do men think about sex. I think Rex shows that it's possible to be a man and never ever think about sex. He does seem quite sort of neutered or
I
sort of
quite liked
asexual.
him this week, though. I thought he handled everyone along the way really sweetly and nicely. I thought he came across well.
Sorry, Kerry, it wasn't
No,
necessarily a
no.
diss. I just was like, just that he doesn't. He's not. They tend to write characters quite nakedly in terms of their kind of like their wants. Sex being one of them. And Rex has shown no interest, even when he was with what's her chops. It wasn't like he was kind of all over her. It was quite sort of
Yeah, no, I didn't
companionable.
think you were dissing him. I just thought it reminded me that I was surprised that I actually quite liked him this week.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I love the Fair Brothers. I think
Mm.
they're both fantastic. I've long thought they were a great addition to the.
Yeah, he's a brilliant hedgehog whisperer.
Okay, guys, there was a slight break in proceedings there while we tried to argue over how we were going to segue into the end of the show. Mentions of prickly proceedings. What else did we come up with, Kerry?
Nothing.
That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
As far
it.
as we got. So there you go, a little glimpse into the production magic that brings together the immaculately produced Cider Shed. So, Kerry, if people do want to, I don't know, hedgerow something, oh
Ooh.
no, I'll give up. If people do want to get in touch on Twitter.
Talking of little pricks.
Oh, whoa there. That's never been proven. So yeah, if people want to prick our conscience on Twitter or something,
come to Twitter and oh God, I've forgotten the bloody thing now.
it's a bit easy to do cutesy stuff. Come and have a snuffle around our hedgerow. Have a glass of milk by the fireside, or something. The cutesy stuff's
Roll
easy,
up
but
in a
yeah.
ball at the sight of our tweets. It's at the Cider Shed Pod on Twitter, and we're edging closer to the 2,000 followers mark. Very exciting. Lots of fun. Join us there, and also leave us a lovely review on iTunes with words attached if you can be asked.
Matthew's done a great job getting those ready for us to send them out. So if you have the opportunity if you see them, please forward them. Please ping them to someone you think might be interested. Matthew, you're doing on Instagram as well, aren't you?
I am. We're on Instagram at the Cider Shed Pod. So as you said, we're going to put some quotes from some of our lovely reviews up on our Instagram feed. So as I've said, previous nice reviews, they'll be going up there. And if you want to get in on the fun, then write a review on our iTunes, 5-star review, and we'll get you up there as well. And anonymity assured, of course. And we've got a Facebook group called the Cider Shed Podcast. I've had a few people mentioning Groundhog Day to me there, so I'm obviously going to get onto that as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, Matthew. Yes. You made a promise. You made a promise. It's all, by the way, it's a pleasurable promise to keep. You are, yeah. Oh, I'm jealous. Anyway, I really enjoyed this week. I hope the newfound positivity came across. I really enjoyed the Archers. I always enjoy the podcast. And thank you as always to Kerry and Matthew. I felt it was fun.
Yeah, me too. See you all next week.
See you guys. Bye.